Miho wiped the sweat from his forehead as he pushed his cleaning cart through the dim corridors of Galactic Station Kepler 7. At 45, the night shift janitor had seen his share of strange things, but nothing prepared him for what he found in the xenobiology wing during the power outage. The emergency lights cast long shadows across the floor. Miho's footsteps echoed in the silence. He had been working this shift for 3 years now, ever since he lost his medical license back on Earth. A simple mistake during surgery had cost him everything. Now he cleaned floors and emptied trash bins on a space station filled with aliens from across the galaxy. He turned the corner into the xenobiology wing, an area usually restricted to scientists and researchers. The power outage had unlocked all the automatic doors. His supervisor had told him to clean quickly before security noticed. That was when he heard it, a soft, wheezing sound coming from behind an overturned containment unit. Miho stopped pushing his cart. He listened carefully. The sound came again, weaker this time. It sounded like something struggling to breathe. He should have called security. The regulations were clear. Never touch alien specimens. Never interfere with research materials. But Miho's old instincts kicked in. He had been a paramedic once, then a surgeon. The sound of labored breathing was something he could never ignore. He walked slowly toward the containment unit. His heart pounded in his chest. Behind the unit, curled in a ball, was a small creature no bigger than a house cat. Its body was covered in iridescent scales that flickered weakly in the dim light. The scales changed colors with each struggling breath, shifting from deep blue to pale silver. The creature's eyes opened. They were large and golden, filled with an intelligence that shocked Miho. This was not just an animal. This was a thinking being, and it was dying. Miho knelt beside it. The creature tried to move away, but had no strength. Its breathing was shallow and rapid. Miho could see a wound on its side, infected and oozing a dark fluid. Every rule said to walk away. Every protocol demanded he report this immediately. But looking into those golden eyes, Miho saw only a child in pain. He removed his jacket carefully. The creature watched him with what seemed like fear and hope mixed together. Miho spoke softly, using the same gentle tone he once used with scared patients. "I will not hurt you. I want to help." He wrapped the creature in his jacket, surprised by how warm it felt despite its weak appearance. The creature made a small chirping sound, almost like a question. Miho looked around. Security cameras were offline because of the power outage. The night shift meant few people were around. He made a decision that would change everything. He placed the creature carefully in his cleaning cart, covering it with dirty towels and rags. His hands shook as he pushed the cart toward the service elevator. Every step felt dangerous. Every sound made him jump. The elevator ride to the residential level seemed to take forever. Miho kept checking the towels, making sure the creature was still breathing. It was but barely. His quarters were small, just a single room with a bed, a desk, and a tiny bathroom. But it was private. No one bothered janitors in their off hours. Miho locked the door behind him and gently lifted the creature onto his bed. In the better light, he could see more details. The scales were beautiful, like liquid metal. The creature had small horns beginning to grow from its head and tiny claws on its feet. His old medical training took over. He grabbed his first aid kit and began to work. The wound needed cleaning. He used water and antiseptic carefully, talking softly the whole time. "You are safe now. I will help you get better." The creature watched him with those intelligent eyes. It seemed to understand that he was trying to help. When Miho touched a particularly painful spot, the creature chirped but did not try to bite or scratch him. Miho fashioned a heating pad from spare thermal elements he had for fixing broken equipment. He created a small nest of blankets and placed the creature inside. Then he mixed some nutritional paste from his emergency rations with water and offered it. The creature sniffed the mixture. Its small tongue came out and tasted it. Then it began to eat, slowly at first, then more eagerly. Miho sat back and watched. What had he done? He had stolen an alien specimen. He had broken a dozen regulations. Security would be looking for this creature by morning. But when the creature finished eating and looked at him with gratitude in its golden eyes, Miho knew he had made the right choice. He had saved a life. Nothing else mattered. The creature curled up in the warm nest and closed its eyes. For the first time, its breathing seemed easier. The scales glowed with a soft, steady light. Miho decided to call it Ember because of that warm glow. He did not know that he had just saved the last prince of an ancient dragon empire. He did not know that warships were already searching for this small creature. He did not know that his simple act of kindness would reshape the entire galaxy. All he knew was that a child had needed help, and he had given it. Tomorrow would bring its own problems. Tonight, Ember was safe. 3 weeks transformed everything. Ember had doubled in size and showed remarkable intelligence. Through drawings and gestures, Miho taught basic concepts. Ember learned to communicate through color changes and melodic sounds. Miho no longer saw Ember as just a creature he had saved. The small being had become his companion, his friend. Every morning before his shift, Miho would sit with Ember and show simple pictures. A star meant space. A circle meant the station. A stick figure meant person. Ember absorbed everything like a sponge. Within days, the small dragon could point at objects and change colors to show feelings. Blue meant calm. Red meant excited. Purple meant curious. Green meant happy. The bond between them grew stronger each day. Miho found himself talking to Ember about everything. He told stories about Earth, about his past life as a doctor, about the mistake that had cost him his career. Ember would listen, scales shifting through gentle colors, as if understanding every word. But keeping Ember hidden was becoming harder. The creature now stood as tall as Miho's knee and needed more food than ever. Miho spent most of his salary buying extra rations, claiming he was just very hungry. His only close friend on the station was Teho, a maintenance engineer who worked the same night shift. Teho was a quiet man from Seoul who kept himself and never asked too many questions. They often shared meals in the empty cafeteria during their breaks. One night, Teho showed up at Miho's door unexpectedly. There had been a ventilation problem, and he needed to check the air filters in Miho's room. Miho's heart stopped. Ember was hiding in the bathroom, but there was no way to refuse entry without raising suspicion. Teho entered with his toolkit. He walked straight to the ventilation panel and began working. Miho stood nervously by the bathroom door, trying to look casual. Then Ember made a sound, a soft musical chirp. Teho froze. He slowly turned toward the bathroom door. His eyes narrowed. "Miho, what was that?" "Nothing. Just my old radio acting up." Teho was not stupid. He had worked on space stations for 15 years. He knew every sound they made. He walked toward the bathroom door. Miho stepped in front of him. "Please, Teho, do not go in there." The two men stared at each other. Then Teho gently moved Miho aside and opened the door. Ember sat in the bathtub, scales shimmering with nervous yellow colors. The dragon looked at Teho with wide golden eyes. Teho's mouth fell open. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he whispered, "You are insane. That is a Class X specimen. Do you know what they do to people who steal Class X specimens?" "It was dying," Miho said quietly. "They left it to die behind a broken containment unit. What was I supposed to do?" Teho looked at Ember again. The dragon tilted its head. Curious. It made a soft sound, almost like a greeting. "How long have you had it?" Teho asked. 3 weeks. Teho ran his hand through his hair. He paced the small room, thinking. Finally, he sighed deeply. "You cannot keep it here. Security has been running sweeps every night. Administrator Hannah herself is leading the search. They know something is missing from the xenobiology wing." Miho's stomach dropped. "What do I do?" Teho thought for a moment. Section 9. The old maintenance tunnels. They have been abandoned for 2 years since the new systems came online. No one goes there. No cameras work there. "Will you help me?" Miho asked. Teho looked at Ember, then at Miho. "You saved its life. That means something." "Yes, I will help you." That night, they moved Ember through the service passages to Section 9. The tunnels were dark and dusty, but they were safe. Teho helped Miho set up a small living space with heating elements and a makeshift bed. While Teho worked on the equipment, Miho explored the old storage areas. In a forgotten data terminal, He found archive files. Most were corrupted, but one file caught his attention. It had a symbol that looked exactly like the mark on Ember's forehead. Miho opened the file. His hands began to shake as he read. Draconid species. Extinct for 10,000 years. Ancient rulers of the galaxy. Godlike beings with power beyond imagination. The last of their kind disappeared before modern civilization began. Teho, Miho called out. You need to see this. Teho came over and read the screen. His face went pale. This is impossible, Teho whispered. The Draconids are myths. Stories to scare children. Ember walked up to the screen. The dragon looked at the images of massive winged creatures and made a sad, lonely sound. Its scales turned deep blue, the color of grief. Miho knelt beside Ember. Suddenly, images flooded his mind. Not words, but feelings and pictures. A beautiful world covered in crystals. Hundreds of dragons flying together. Then darkness. A plague. Death everywhere. Empty nests. Silent skies. Loneliness that stretched across centuries. Miho gasped and pulled back. Ember had shared memories. Somehow, the dragon had shown him the truth. You are the last one, Miho said softly. The last of your kind. Ember's scales pulsed with confirmation. The dragon pressed his head against Miho's hand, seeking comfort. Teho stared at them both. If this is true, if Ember really is a draconid, then someone wanted it dead. Someone powerful enough to hide a living god. Before Miho could respond, the entire station shook. Alarms screamed through every corridor. Red emergency lights flooded the tunnels. The station's intercom crackled to life. All personnel to emergency stations. Unknown vessel detected at system edge. Signature identified as Draconid origin. I repeat, Draconid vessel approaching station. Ember's entire body ignited with light. Not fear, but recognition. The dragon scales blazed with colors Miho had never seen before. Teho grabbed Miho's arm. They came for it. They came for Ember. Through their bond, Miho felt Ember's emotions. Hope mixed with fear. Joy mixed with uncertainty. The dragons had returned. And everything was about to change. The station locked down. Weapons charged. The Draconid warship hung in space like a silent god, waiting. Administrator Hannah ordered a total search. Find that specimen. The dragons want it back, and we need leverage. Miho understood the truth. Ember was not just any Draconid. The reverence in those ancient texts. The immediate military response. This was royalty. Security teams swept through every corridor. Their boots echoed like thunder through the maintenance tunnels. Miho held Ember close, feeling the dragon's heart racing against his chest. Teho stood guard at the tunnel entrance, watching security feeds on his portable device. They are getting closer, Teho whispered. We have maybe 10 minutes. Miho looked down at Ember. The dragon scales flickered with nervous colors, shifting between yellow and orange. Through their bond, Miho felt Ember's fear. Not fear the draconids outside, but fear being separated from Miho. I know what we have to do, Miho said quietly. We have to return you to your people. Ember made a sharp, distressed sound. The dragon's claws gripped Miho's shirt tightly. Listen to me, Miho said, kneeling to look into Ember's golden eyes. There's a warship out there. Your family came looking for you. If we do not give you back, there will be war. Thousands will die. Teho turned from his screen. Miho, if we hand Ember over, Hannah will kill you. You stole a Class X specimen. That is a death sentence. Then I die, Miho said simply. But Ember lives. That is all that matters. Ember's scales turned dark blue, the color of deep sadness. The dragon pressed his head against Miho's chest, and suddenly Miho felt a flood of emotions through their bond. Love, gratitude, the pain of goodbye. I love you too, Miho whispered, tears rolling down his face. You were never just a creature I saved. You became my family. The sound of boots grew louder. Security was at the tunnel entrance. We are out of time, Teho said. If we're doing this, we do it now. Miho picked up Ember and walked toward the main corridor. Teho followed, his face grim with worry. They emerged into the central habitat ring, where dozens of security officers stood with weapons drawn. Administrator Hannah stepped forward. She was a tall woman with sharp features and cold eyes. She smiled when she saw Ember. "The specimen," she said with satisfaction. "Finally." "This is not a specimen," Miho said firmly. "This is a child, a prince of an ancient civilization." Hannah laughed. "It is property of this station. Surrender it immediately." Miho knelt on the floor, still holding Ember. "I surrender. Take us both to the Draconids. Let them decide what happens." Hannah's smile faded. "You do not give orders here, Janitor." Ember suddenly sang. It was not a chirp or a simple sound. It was a song that resonated through the entire station. Windows cracked. Metal groaned. Security officers fell to their knees, covering their ears. The song was beautiful and terrible. It carried power that shook the very walls. The station's communication system crackled to life, though no one had touched it. A voice like thunder spoke through every speaker, in every language simultaneously. "Release the scion. Release the human who saved our prince. Or burn." The entire station fell silent. Even Hannah looked frightened. "Scion," she whispered. "Prince." Ember glowed brighter than ever before. The dragon scales showed images, projecting them into the air like a hologram. Images of a grand palace, of hundreds of dragons bowing, of a small egg placed on a throne, the last royal heir of the Draconid Imperium. Hannah's face went from shock to calculation. Miho could see her mind working. Try to find an angle, a way to use the situation for power. "Bind them both." Hannah ordered a security team. "We will use them to negotiate with the Draconids. They want their prince. They will pay any price." "No," Teho shouted, stepping forward. But security officers grabbed him and forced him to the ground. Miho held Ember tighter. "You are making a terrible mistake, Administrator." Hannah walked up to Miho and looked down at him with contempt. "You are just a janitor, a failed doctor who cleans floors. You have no value. But that creature is worth more than 1,000 of you." Through the windows, the Draconid warship began to glow. Energy built around it like a gathering storm. Hannah spoke into her communicator. "This is Administrator Hannah of Station Kepler 7. We have your prince. We also have the human criminal who stole him. Here are our terms for negotiation." "You do not understand," Miho interrupted. "Ember is not your bargaining chip. You cannot." Hannah struck Miho across the face. "Silence." Ember screamed. Not a song this time, but pure rage. The dragon's body erupted with light, so bright that everyone had to shield their eyes. The voice from the warship spoke again, and this time it shook the station like an earthquake. "You struck the Scion's bondmate. You have violated sacred law." Hannah's confidence cracked. "Bondmate? What does that mean?" A new voice came through the speakers. Ancient, powerful, feminine. It carried the weight of thousands of years. "I am Matriarch Yura of the Draconid Imperium. The human Miho saved my grandson's life when your scientists left him to die. By our oldest laws, he is bonded to the royal bloodline, a life debt that can never be broken." Hannah stared at Miho in horror. "That is impossible." "You have harmed one who carries our protection," the matriarch continued. "You have one choice. Release both the scion and his bondmate immediately. Apologize for your crimes, or face the full might of the Draconid Legion." The warship outside began to split apart. No, not split. More ships were appearing. Dozens of them. Hundreds. They materialized from nowhere, filling the space around the station like stars. Hannah's hands trembled. Her security team looked terrified. "What do we do, Administrator?" one officer asked. Hannah looked at Miho, then at Ember, then at the fleet outside. For the first time in her life, she had no power, no leverage, no control. "Release them," she whispered. The security officers let Miho stand. He held Ember close, feeling the dragon's heartbeat against his own. "I want to execute the human," Hannah said desperately into her communicator. "He broke our laws. He stole station property. Surely that satisfies justice." The temperature in the station dropped. Frost formed on the windows. You dare? The matriarch's voice was ice itself. You dare suggest harming the one who showed mercy when you showed only cruelty? Hannah realized her fatal mistake. She had just threatened to kill the one, being the dragons valued most after their prince. Outside, the warships began to charge their weapons. Miho stepped forward, holding up his hand. Please, no violence. I will go with you willingly. Just do not harm this station. These people were just following orders. Ember sang softly, a sound of agreement and love. The matriarch spoke once more. Very well, Miho of Earth. You will come to our flagship, you and the Scion both. As for the station, the longest pause Miho had ever experienced. We will remember what happened here. We will remember who valued power over compassion. And we will remember who valued life over law. A beam of light engulfed Miho and Ember. The last thing Miho saw was Teho's face, his friend shouting something he could not hear. The Draconid matriarch materialized as a hologram. She was massive, ancient, terrible in her beauty. Wings that could eclipse stars folded behind her. Human Miho. Her voice resonated through the crystal chamber. You saved our only surviving heir. Our first successful birth in 3 centuries. Miho stood frozen, still holding Ember close. The small dragon pressed against him, seeking comfort even in this moment of reunion with its own kind. The matriarch's golden eyes softened as she looked at Ember. My grandson, my precious Pyraxis. We thought you were lost forever. Pyraxis. So that was Ember's true name. The matriarch began to explain, and with each word, Miho's heart grew heavier. 10,000 years ago, a plague had swept through the Draconid worlds. It killed adults slowly but destroyed eggs and hatchlings within days. The Draconids watched helplessly as their children died before they could even hatch. We retreated from the galaxy, the matriarch said, her voice thick with old pain. We went to the furthest reaches of space, beyond known stars, searching for a cure. 3 centuries we searched, 300 years of failure. She looked at Pyraxis with such love that Miho felt tears in his eyes. Then Pyraxis hatched. Healthy, strong, perfect. He was our hope, our future, the first child born alive in 300 years. Miho's grip on Pyraxis tightened. What happened? How did he end up on the station? The matriarch's expression turned dark. We sent our best scientists to study why Pyraxis survived when others did not. We built a secret research facility on the edge of known space. But someone betrayed us. Human scientists infiltrated the facility. They wanted Draconid DNA for their experiments. Miho felt sick. They stole a baby. They took my grandson, the matriarch said, her voice carrying the weight of a mountain. When we discovered the theft and raided their facility, the cowards ran. They left Pyraxis behind, hidden in a damaged containment unit. They meant for him to die so no one would know their crime. Pyraxis made a sad sound. Through their bond, Miho felt the dragon's memories of abandonment, of crying in the dark, of thinking no one would come. You found him in that moment, the matriarch said to Miho. You, a simple cleaner. You could have walked away. You could have reported it and received a reward. Instead, you risked everything to save a creature you did not even know. He was dying. Miho said simply, I could not leave him. The matriarch bowed her massive head. By our oldest laws, you are bonded to the royal bloodline, a life debt that cannot be broken. You are family now, Miho of Earth. Before Miho could respond, another hologram appeared. It was a communication feed from Station Kepler 7. Administrator Hannah's face filled the screen. Matriarch, Hannah said, her voice falsely sweet. We have discussed the situation. We propose the human Miho be executed for his crimes. This will show our commitment to justice and proper protocol. The temperature in the chamber dropped instantly. Frost formed on the crystal walls. Every dragon in the room growled, a sound that shook the very air. You propose what? The matriarch's voice was deadly quiet. Hannah continued, not understanding her mistake. The human stole station property. He broke numerous regulations. His execution will demonstrate that we punish lawbreakers appropriately. Surely this satisfies your sense of justice. Miho watched the matriarch's eyes blaze with fury. Her wings spread wide, and even to the hologram, the power radiating from her was terrifying. "You call my grandson property," the matriarch said, each word like a blade. "You abandoned him to die, and now you dare suggest executing the one who showed him mercy?" Hannah's face paled. Too late. She realized what she had said. "I meant no disrespect, matriarch. I merely—" Silence. The word echoed across both the ship and the station. On the feed, Miho could see people on the station falling to their knees, hands over their ears. The matriarch turned to her court. "Prepare the fleet for war. Station Kepler 7 has declared its intentions clearly." "No!" Miho shouted, stepping forward. "Please, matriarch, do not punish thousands for the stupidity of one person." The matriarch looked at him, surprised. "They wanted you dead." "I know," Miho said, "but starting a war will not fix anything. It will only create more pain, more death. Is that what you want Pyraxis to see? His first days back with his people marked by violence." Pyraxis chirped softly, pressing against Miho's leg. The small dragon's scales showed peaceful blue colors. The matriarch studied Miho for a long moment. Then she laughed, a sound like bells and thunder mixed together. "You are remarkable, human, facing death, yet you plead for your enemies." She turned to her court. "Stand down the attack order." Relief flooded through Miho. However, the matriarch continued, "You cannot return to that station. Administrator Hannah has made her position clear. You will stay with us." "Stay with you?" Miho repeated. "You are bonded to Pyraxis. He needs you. We need you." The matriarch's expression softened. "And perhaps we need to learn from you. We have forgotten what it means to show mercy. You will teach us to remember." Miho looked down at Pyraxis. The small dragon looked up at him with hopeful golden eyes. Through their bond, Miho felt the question. "Will you stay with me?" "I will stay," Miho said quietly. The months that followed changed Miho's life completely. He lived aboard the Draconid flagship, learning their language, their customs, their history. Pyraxis grew rapidly, soon becoming the size of a horse, then larger still. The Draconids treated Miho with respect and kindness. They called him Pyraxis' first guardian and gave him quarters fit for royalty. But Miho remained humble, often helping the ship's workers with simple tasks. Old habits died hard. One day, 6 months after his arrival, the matriarch summoned him to the observation deck. She stood looking out at the stars, her massive form somehow elegant despite its size. "Miho," she said without turning, "we are returning to the galaxy, not as conquerors, but as protectors. An ancient enemy stirs in the dark places between stars. The Void Swarm awakens." Miho felt a chill. What is the Void Swarm? "Something that nearly destroyed us once before," the matriarch said. "Something that consumes entire worlds. The galaxy will need defenders. They will need us." She turned to face him. "They will also need bridges between species. They will need someone who understands both dragons and other races. They will need you, Miho." Pyraxis, now magnificent and large, landed beside them. The dragon's voice, once chirps and songs, could now form words. "Will you stand with me, my guardian?" Pyraxis asked. "Will you help me protect this galaxy?" Miho looked at the dragon he had saved, who had become his family. He thought of Tejo, still on the station. He thought of all the innocent people across the galaxy who had no idea what was coming. "I will stand with you," Miho said. "Always." The matriarch smiled. "Then let us return to Station Kepler 7. Let us show them what happens when compassion is met with compassion, and what happens when it is met with cruelty." The Draconid fleet turned toward known space, and Miho, the janitor who had saved a prince, prepared to help save a galaxy. 2 years later, the Void Swarm devoured outer colonies like a plague. The Galactic Council, once arrogant, now faced extinction. Miho returned to Station Kepler 7 as ambassador to the Draconid Imperium. Behind him flew Pyraxis, now magnificent, leading a legion of 500 dragons. The council chambers fell silent as Miho entered. Administrator Hannah sat among them, diminished. "We beg the Draconids for aid," Council Leader Jaiwan announced. Miho walked slowly to the center of the chamber. He wore simple clothes, still preferring his practical style even though the Draconids had offered him royal garments. His hair had more gray now, but his eyes carried a quiet strength that made even the council members look away. Behind him, visible through the massive windows, Pyraxis hovered in space. The dragon had grown to the size of a cruiser ship, scales gleaming like molten gold. 499 other dragons filled the space around the station, their presence both beautiful and terrifying. Council Leader Jaiwan was an elderly woman from Busan who had replaced the previous corrupt leadership. She stood with dignity, but Miho could see the desperation in her eyes. "Ambassador Miho," she said formally, "the outer colonies are gone. 17 worlds consumed in 3 months. The Void Swarm moves toward the core systems. We have weeks, maybe days. We need the Draconid Legion." Miho said nothing. He simply looked at each council member in turn. Some met his gaze with shame. Others looked away. Hannah stared at the floor, her once proud bearing completely broken. Pyraxis's voice boomed through the station speakers, making the walls vibrate. "You need us now. But 2 years ago, you wanted my guardian dead. Why should we save those who value power over life?" Jaiwan bowed her head. "You are right to question us. We were wrong. I cannot undo the past, but I can offer truth. We were arrogant. We thought ourselves superior. We treated your prince as property and condemned a hero for showing basic kindness." "Words are easy," Pyraxis growled. The dragons outside moved closer to the station, a subtle threat. "What guarantee do we have that you have changed?" Miho finally spoke. "Matriarch Yura taught me something important. She said that true change comes not from fear, but from understanding." Council Leader Jaiwan, "Have you truly learned? Has the council truly changed?" Jaiwan looked directly at Miho. "We have begun to change. We created new laws protecting all sentient beings, regardless of origin. We banned experiments on living creatures without consent. We established rights for workers across all stations." She paused. "But I will not lie to you. We made these changes partly from fear. Fear that the Draconids would return for vengeance." Miho appreciated her honesty. "At least you admit it." "But there is more," Jaiwan continued. "After you left, a worker named Teho began speaking out. He told everyone what really happened. How a janitor saved a dying child while scientists and administrators chose cruelty. His words spread across the galaxy. People began asking questions. Why did we value status over compassion? Why did we punish kindness? Miho's heart jumped at Teho's name. His old friend had kept fighting. Hannah suddenly stood up. Her hands trembled as she faced Miho. "I was wrong," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "I called you worthless. I struck you. I tried to have you killed. I treated Prince Pyraxis as an object. I deserve no forgiveness." The chamber was silent. Everyone stared at Hannah, the once powerful administrator who had fallen so far. "But I beg you," Hannah continued, tears streaming down her face, "do not let my crimes doom billions of innocent people. Save them, please." Before Miho could respond, alarms shrieked through the station. Red emergency lights flooded the chamber. "Void Swarm detected," the automated system announced. "Multiple contacts. Distance, 2 million kilometers and closing." Jaiwan's face went white. "They are here. We are out of time." Pyraxis roared, and the Dragon Legion responded with a chorus that shook space itself. Through his bond with Pyraxis, Miho felt the dragon's rage and readiness for battle. But something was wrong. Miho felt a strange coldness in the air. He turned and saw Hannah's face change. Her skin rippled like water. Her eyes turned completely black. "No," Miho whispered. Hannah's body twisted and reformed into something else. Something with too many limbs and eyes like dead stars. A Void Swarm infiltrator, hiding in plain sight for years. "Foolish dragons," the creature hissed with Hannah's mouth. "You came exactly as planned." The creature lunged at Miho with impossible speed. Its claws aimed for his throat. Time seemed to slow. Miho saw Pyraxis outside, too far to help. He saw Jaiwin screaming. He saw the creature's claws inches from his neck. Then Teho crashed through the side door, firing a plasma weapon. The blast caught the creature in the shoulder, spinning it away from Miho. "Not today, monster," Teho shouted. The creature screamed and leaped at Teho instead. But Pyraxis smashed through the station window, atmosphere explosions and alarms erupting everywhere. The dragon's claw caught the creature and crushed it like an insect. Emergency shields slammed down, sealing the breach. Teho helped Miho to his feet. "Good timing," Miho said, hugging his old friend. "I have been chief of security for a year now," Teho said with a grin. "I knew something was wrong with Hannah. She was too quiet, too submissive. Not like her at all." Pyraxis pulled back outside, but his voice filled the chamber. "The Void Swarm has infiltrators everywhere. This battle is more complex than we thought." Miho looked at the destroyed creature, then at the terrified council members. A decision formed in his mind. "Pyraxis," he said, "remember what I told you when you were small? Every life has value, even those who do not see it yet. You want us to help them," Pyraxis said. It was not a question. "I want us to show them what we stand for," Miho replied. "Not revenge, not superiority, but protection of all life." Pyraxis was quiet for a moment. Then the dragon laughed, a sound like summer thunder. "You are still teaching me, my guardian. Very well. Dragons of the Legion, hear me. We fight not for the Council's redemption, but for the innocent lives across this galaxy." The 500 dragons roared as one. The battle against the Void Swarm was fierce but brief. Human strategy combined with draconid power proved unstoppable. Miho coordinated the defense from the station, using his knowledge of both species to create perfect tactics. Teho commanded the station's defenses. Pyraxis led the dragons with courage and inspired everyone who witnessed it. When the last Void Swarm ship was destroyed, the galaxy erupted in celebration. But Miho did not celebrate. He stood in the council chamber, now repaired, facing the assembled leaders. "The Void Swarm will return," he said quietly. "This was just a scouting force. The real invasion is coming." "Then we need a permanent alliance," Jaiwin said. "Dragons and the other races working together." Pyraxis landed on the station's outer platform, his massive head visible through the window. "We agree. But the old ways are over. No more hierarchy based on power. No more treating any being as property. We build a new galaxy together or not at all." The council voted unanimously. A new era began.